Are your appraisals coming in over asking price?
No. No.
Okay, then we'll talk about some appraisal red flags. Hello everybody, my name is Barry Horvath and this is Moving Forward TV with your local market update.
And I am DeLynn Gaston. Thank you so much for joining us. So,
congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning, the
Yay!
back-to-back winners.
That's
Tampa
exciting.
Yeah.
Did you hear? I just heard on the news.
Is that what this show's going to be about? Because if it is, I'm really excited.
Well, we could talk about that because it was very exciting. So there was a giraffe at Busch Gardens who was born that day, and they named him Stanley.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's really
Isn't that
cute.
cute?
That's super cute. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
So baby Stanley's doing well.
Wow.
Yep.
Actually, it's really nice to see because it was special. I mean, I know Tampa Bay Lightning won last year, but they did it in front of no fans in the bubble. How did that feel as a player to win a championship
I know.
and nobody was there? But this year you could see the excitement was gathered, the whole town.
And they were saying, even during the playoffs and everything, that it was the energy of the fans that really pushed them.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
And in Montreal, it was so funny. They only allowed like 3,500 people or 3,200 fans into the actual arena.
Oh.
But outside of the arena, there were thousands and thousands of fans all sardined in together, hanging out. So, makes sense to me.
No social distancing there,
I mean,
it.
it's funny to watch that. So how does that even work?
And we did too on Thunder Alley.
Yes,
the chairs that were
crazy.
lined
they actually
up.
Limited.
It was awesome.
You had to buy tickets this year to get into Thunder Alley,
I know.
and there were limited amounts. So, can you imagine if they didn't do that?
That was amazing.
It would be chaos. So
we have an amazing team. Tampa Bay.
Yeah, so
Tampa Bay.
with championships, values and appraisal values continue to go up, right?
That's right. All right, there
Actually,
you go.
you know,
that's a segue for you.
Actually, it's true. You know what happens when you have
championships going up?
People get to know the branding of like Tampa Bay right now is hot. You know, the Bucks won the championships. The Rays won the AL pennant and went to the World Series last year. And then, of course, the Lightning winning the Stanley Cup puts us on the radar around the country, around the world. So therefore, people are like, "Oh, Tampa! I heard of Tampa." You know, when I'm far away and people say, "Where do you live?" I don't say Trinity because they're like, "Huh? I live in the Tampa Bay area." So that awareness, believe it or not, does create a branding for an area, which does in turn bring up real estate values because people want to come here, they want to visit, they want to check out our restaurants, our hotels, and real estate.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think it brings the whole thing up because it's such a positive thing, right? The championships and such. It's such a positive thing. It obviously people like positiveness.
Yes.
So people are attracted to positive people. People are attractive to positive situations. So I think the positiveness of winning, that definitely makes our Tampa Bay area more attractive. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
I never even thought about that. That's a really good point.
Huge. I know
Good
that wasn't.
point.
I know
He's
it wasn't
such a
part of
smart
our
guy.
show, but we are going to talk about that values and appraisal red flags. But first, we have some news tips we want to run by you just to get you some quick updates here in the market of what's going on. So the first thing we want to talk about is Elsa. You know,
Elsa came and went.
yeah, thank goodness it went. That's all I can say. I mean, I know
And
that.
I understand she was a hurricane for like, what, 10 minutes? You told me yesterday she was a hurricane
I
for
think
like
it
10
was
minutes.
10. Might have been 11.
I was out of town, actually, so I don't know.
You didn't even know, but you heard about it.
I did.
And I hate to say it, it got all this media hype.
I know.
Because, let's face it, bad news sells. People were panicking. The grocery stores were full. People were buying off the shelves of water and canned goods supplies and, whatnot. And in preparation for this storm, that was coming right at us in the Tampa Bay area. So
there she is.
yeah, so it did.
Dun, dun, dun.
It did fortunately fizzle out. It had little to no impact in the area. In my mind, it was nothing more than I've seen afternoon thunderstorms that were worse, quite honestly. But the bad news is that when these storms really happen, I mean, look at Michael, what it did. People
Right.
were not, they were
know.
prepared, but that thing went to a Cat 5 like in minutes before it hit
that's the sad thing. That's the sad thing about Elsa, because now the next time something comes through, people are going to be, oh, geez, nothing happened last time, and that's the sad thing. But you do have to take every storm seriously. Now, granted, did the media hype? Yeah, they did. But again, because they want us to be prepared because of things like Michael, because of Andrew a number of years
Yeah.
ago, things like that. So, and as far as how that is related to what we're talking about. So first of all, we live on a peninsula.
Really?
We are surrounded by 3 sides by water.
Nobody told me that.
The entire state is in a flood zone. The whole state is in a flood zone. Just
Yes.
keep that in
And
mind.
what was that statistic you had about that one storm? that
Yeah,
came through?
so for those of you local here, you remember Tropical Storm Debbie. I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago. I'm really bad at time, guys. But a few years back, there was Tropical Storm Debbie that came through. And actually, Angel, who was on with us from Leaders Insurance a week or so ago, she had mentioned, which I thought was an amazing statistic. So where it affected the most, there were certain parts of Trinity that the storm really affected badly. 70% of the claims that came through for Tropical Storm Debbie were not people who were not in an AE flood zone. Not in an AE, not in an
Crazy.
A, not in a V. They were in X flood zones. So keep in mind, the entire state of Florida is in a flood zone. It's just a matter of which ones of these flood zones require flood insurance. And X does not. It's not a requirement. A, AE, V, those are definite requirements for flood. So everyone thinks, oh, I'm not in a flood zone. Yes, you are, but you're in a 500-year flood zone.
So
Doesn't mean it won't happen, though. 70% of those claims were for people in X zones.
it's crazy to even think about that. But why do we worry about in the real estate, mortgage, title? Why do we worry about these storms? The biggest reason we worry about them is, number one, it can delay your closing, because we preach this up front, and so many people, I know we have people that are seasoned buyers, but if you're a real estate professional, please educate your buyer. Remind them. People forget that you cannot bind insurance if the storm is in a box. What does that mean? That means as soon as it's announced that this storm has developed and it's within a certain area of us, that means you can't get the insurance. What does that do to you? Well, it delays your closing, because you cannot close on any finance property without insurance. And people forget that. And here's the other part of it. After it passes through, that property may require a re-inspection from the appraiser, because even though you might have been clear to close, your closing could be delayed. The investor, the lenders, I don't care who they are, will stop that closing. Because if we were hit hard with Elsa, I'm telling you, it would have delayed closings.
Right.
If your closing was on Friday and the storm came through on Thursday or even Wednesday or Tuesday, it wouldn't have happened. So they have to go back out, physically, visually look at and inspect the property and make sure no damage was done.
Make sure a tree didn't go through the roof, or a car is sitting on top of the house.
Moral to the story: as soon as you're under contract, if you're buying a home right now, it doesn't affect you if you're refinancing, because you're already bound. You already have insurance. But if you are buying a property, do yourself a favor. Get the insurance in place ASAP.
Right.
Start getting quotes, especially right now. We've talked about this. You know, I know we've been beating this in your head. The insurance quotes and your insurance costs factor into your debt ratio. These higher premiums that keep coming in could disqualifying you from buying a house. And I love the way you said it yesterday to one of our clients. You qualified me for $90,000. No, I qualified you for $700 a month.
Right.
Is that? That sounds so simple, but we don't know if the insurance is going to be $150 a month, $100 a month, $200 a month, whatever.
Right.
We don't know if the HOA is going to be $100 a month, $400 a month, or whatever. We don't know what the taxes are going to be to you to identify a property, and they may not even be correct on the county website because, you know, if there was a cap on it, they may escalate. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on this. You're like, wow.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, no kidding.
We'll talk about pre-qualing and pre-approving another time. But the other real quick tip we wanted to give, something that else that is on something else that is on the rise right now is fraud. Once again, you know what, guys, in the real estate industry, mortgage industry, title industry, we have to be careful because we deal with a lot of money, right? Money is transferring. People are wiring money for their EMD. People are wiring money for their down payment, and the title company and the lenders are wiring money to the title companies and such. There's a lot of money being wired. Wire fraud is on the rise again. So we thought we kind of had a cap on it for a little while there, the industry in general. They're getting more creative. So again, if you are a realtor partner, do not say, I will get you the wiring instructions from the title company to your buyer or to your seller. Don't do that. Give them the phone number to call because it's your trusted title company. Tell them don't accept a phone number from an email. If they get an email that's changing wiring instructions or anything like that, tell them to ignore it. You give them the phone number to the title company so that they don't have to look it up themselves because these people are creative. These crooks, these fraud people, they are so creative. So you give them the phone number, tell them call directly to, you know, whoever it is, Sandy, Melissa, whatever the title person's name is, and get the wiring instructions themselves.
I love that you say that because when you get an email from a potential hacker, they will change the phone number on the signature line in the email. Beware of that. Do not trust that phone number. Google the title company or get with your real estate partner. I've seen it happen. You call that other number and they give you fraudulent. They've set up bogus phone numbers. They change the email ever so slightly. They copy the signature. They copy the logo. They make it look like an official email from the title company instructing you to send your money to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. And and cybercrime is the leading form of crime right now. It's running rampant. We're all online. We're all suspect.
And in this industry, we deal with a lot of money. We're dealing with a lot of money that's changing hands.
Yeah,
so
we're talking...
it only makes sense that you know the crooks and stuff are going to want to tap into this industry if they can.
All right.
You know, they get a lot more money that way than if they just taking somebody's credit card for $500.
And it's super easy to do. I mean, we get spoofed every day where people send you, open this up from, I know it sounds elementary. You know, they mass blast out there saying your Chase account, your Amazon account, your Bank of America account has a suspicious charge. Click here to verify. You click on it, boom, they're in your system. It's almost that simple. So,
and people say, well, can't we just do a check then, a bank check or something like that? No. And here's why that doesn't work. Color copiers.
Yeah.
People can take a $10,000 bank check, go to a color copier, and make beautiful.
You can order checks.
Beautiful.
You can order checks
copies
from any third-party company with bank information and routing number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, you know, these people who do fraud, these criminals are brilliant.
Yes,
they are absolutely brilliant So we just have to be prepared. Anyway, so we wanted to get on to our appraisal red flags because
Yes.
that's what we talked about. So for those of you who have joined us for our Lunch and Learn this month, we had Jane Platt, who is our credit risk manager at the mortgage firm, and she is an amazing person. She used to be our head of underwriting. Head of underwriting. I'm sorry.
Head of underwriter?
Head underwriter in the entire company. So this woman has seen a lot of stuff. She's been in the industry a long time, and she has seen a lot of stuff. And she deals directly with. I mean, she almost has Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae's cell phone numbers. I mean, she deals direct with.
Yes.
The secondary market. So she knows her stuff and she knows the things. And the things that she talked about, we wanted to kind of go through and touch on a little bit. And I know that we're as usual, rapidly running out of time.
Yeah, so we may just touch on this and go deeper into it on a later show. But today we wanted to let you know some of the red flags that are up there. So when you get a finance property, most of you know this, some of you don't. We have first-time buyers that don't know. You get an appraisal. That appraisal is not to protect the buyer. That appraisal is really to protect the end investor, which is the lender, which, like DeLynn said, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, those are your end investors. We're protecting them. They want to make sure the collateral is good. They want to make sure that it's sufficient. They want to make sure it's there. I mean, when all the fraud happened, when the market meltdown, we had facades being financed, remember?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was just a picture of a front of a house, and you know, it makes a huge difference. So the first tip we want to give you, that as is does not mean there's no repairs needed. Just because you as a realtor wrote an as is contract doesn't mean that the end investor, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, whoever your bank is going to be okay with that particular property. Repairs may be required. They may be needed. Doesn't matter if it's as is. If they want to close on the property and get financing, that, you know, you have to comply with it. And you know what? FHA and conventional have little bit different guidelines. Right. FHA always gets the bad rap. That's a whole show in itself. But, you know...
But just don't be surprised if all of a sudden we have to get things done. There's what's called a cost to cure that they put in there, and as long as it's pretty minimal, then it's okay. The appraiser might say, oh, you know what, that's going on. It's like, you know, $200 to get this cost to cure. That kind of thing they're going to let go unless it's a safety issue. If it's a safety issue, it's usually things that are going to have to be fixed prior to closing. The other one we wanted to touch on is, I'm not going to do all of them, I'm going to skip around here, solar panels, because that one comes up a lot. So the biggest question is, are solar panels, do they add value or do they not add value to the property? The answer is, if they are owned versus if they are leased. So when you are taking a listing appointment and somebody has solar panels and they're doing that kind of as a, you know, a perk to their house, make sure that the person owns the solar panels, because if they're just leasing them, then that is not allowed to be added to value.
I want to clarify that for you, because I know the word leasing is very loose. In order to give a solar panel value, it must be attached to the real property. So when we say lease, that doesn't mean you're renting them. It just means you could have a private loan, signature loan on solar panels. What does that mean? Well, if you move and you want to, you can just take the solar panels with you. If it is encumbered into the property, having an attachment to that parcel, then it has value. Maybe that's a little clearer, and you can count it as value. So that's a big, big consideration. And as a listing agent, you probably should know that, because people say, oh yeah, I have a loan, they just did it. And some of these solar companies are all doing it different ways today. And we could do a whole show on that, too,
I know,
DeLynn.
and we probably should. And the other thing is that most of the time it is a loan, and it is attached to the property via a UCC filing. So just because they say they only have one mortgage, make sure, again, as your listing agent, do your due diligence and ask the question about the solar panels. Is there a loan on it? Because if there's a loan, I got news for you, there's an attachment. There is a lien on the property. It's called a UCC filing.
And your title company companies can help you with that. They can actually get, pull a search for you and tell you if it is attached to the property, if there is a lien. So it's super important to know, because
it is.
Some of these solar panels are adding significant values to these properties. But if you can unbolt it and take it with you, and it's not attached to that parcel, yeah, that's kind of like you're leasing them or you're buying them on a signature loan. They may not give value to the property, although,
right.
Then you actually have to add them as an addendum. You ever think about that? I don't even think about that because I'm not a realtor. So
again, we can do a whole show on that. So, all right, so moving on. So the next thing is internal or functional obsolescence. So basically what that means is, for those of you realtor partners who actually do read the appraisals, I know some of you do, down at the bottom of the first page there, it talks about the internal or functional obsolescence. That's, do you have to walk through a room to get to another room? So do you have to walk through like the master bedroom to get to the kids' bedrooms or something like that? That is a functional obsolescence kind of a thing. It's got an issue with it.
It could be a problem.
That could
Some
be
of these
a
room
big problem.
additions became
right.
wonky.
Yeah, they did. And it does, we have 5 bedrooms, really? Because do you have to go through one of the bedrooms to get to the other bedroom? Is that the only way to get, or do you have to go to the outside of the house?
And that could be a problem.
To get to it?
Could be,
that is a problem.
And the appraiser's going to note it. And I know you skipped over this one, but I think the realtor partners need to know special assessments do count into the DTI for us. You will do your lender a huge service if you know about a special assessment. What is a special assessment? A road paving that may or may not need to be paid off. Any special assessment from the area assessed by any municipality, the county, tax collector's office. It will help your lender out a lot if you know that. And if you don't know if there's going to be any, communicate with your title company. A great title agent will be able to help you research that and find it. And if you go into a listing appointment and know this information, I don't know about you, but I would be super impressed if, a realtor came to me and said, hey, I noticed you had this special assessment on your property. It's going to come up at some point. They're going to do a paving or they did a paving. Do your homework. Don't walk in and say, hi, here to list your property. I'll get it sold in a day. Do your homework on these things. So. Anyway.
All right. The other thing is health issues, health and safety. So things like the things that come up the most is black mold. Again, you might have an as-is appraisal and everything looks fine and it came in at value and everything. But if the appraiser took a picture and said, this is black mold, or this could be black mold, or maybe we have a green pool, and everybody seems to think that, it's, that's only FHA, that's only VA. No, even conventional, they don't like green pools either. Why? Because it's a safety issue. A child could fall in there, be at the bottom of the pool, sadly, and no one knows it because the pool is green. So do yourself a favor, have the pool shocked.
Yep, you can go out and do it
before
yourself.
the appraiser goes out.
And it's so funny, the rule of thumb is you got to be able to see the bottom. If you can see the bottom,
there
can be dirt on the bottom.
If there's a pool there,
you got to be able to see the bottom. And then some people try to cover the pools and say, if you just throw a tarp over it with some rocks or cinder blocks in the corner, that's not going to cut it. If the pool is permanently strapped and covered and no longer being used, that may be acceptable.
But keep in mind that if the pool is covered and strapped down like he said, because maybe the pool has issues, the pool has to be functional in order for the appraiser to give it value. So if they don't know if the pool is functional or not because it's got one of these, tarps over it that are with the straps and everything, permanently, covered up pool, they don't know, they cannot give it value. So they cannot comp it to another pool home or they have to make an adjustment for it. Keep that in mind as well. It has to be functional in order for it to have value.
All right. And safety issues is a big thing. I remember there was some complexes way back. There was one complex in particular, I remember in Tarpon, that there was a lawsuit on the balconies.
I remember that.
And it came up all the time, and you couldn't,
That was at the condos out there on the water.
Yep.
I do remember that.
And that was a big safety issue. If that comes up, it's going to be a problem. There were ones where they had a balcony where there was no railing. That's a problem. You can't have a walkout platform without a railing, or the railings were rotted or loose, or if it's blatantly obvious and a safety issue,
A
it's gonna
deck as
come up.
well, same thing. If
Yep.
you have a sliding glass door and you open up a sliding glass door and there's no deck there, that's a problem. Or there's a deck, but there's no railing, and it's, more than what would be the what they kind of use as a rule of thumb, more than 3 steps. More than 3 steps, they want to see a railing most of the time. Again, this is not just FHA and VA, guys. I know
It's
everybody
everyone.
thinks, that let's take conventional because they're easier. No, this is everyone. This is safety. Conventional is going to be just as concerned with that.
Yes. So many appraisal red flags, DeLynn, that we almost,
I know.
I think we should just touch on them this week, and then we can get back into them in a future show, because there are so many red flags out there. And we don't want to
know.
overwhelm you and think it's doom and gloom when you have an appraiser go out
And
there.
if you guys want this PowerPoint that was given to us at our Lunch and Learn, you guys are more than welcome. Just, reach out to Barry or I. Most of you have our cell numbers or our email. Feel free to reach out to us. The other thing that another big one that I wanted to talk about was the private roads, and that does come up, quite a bit as well. Private roads. Remember, there's a lot that has to do with private roads, and I know a lot of you know this already. You have to have a private road maintenance agreement. Who takes care of that road? Who takes care of that road? Who is, up north we used to say, who's going to plow it in the winter?
Yeah.
We have to worry about that down here, but down here what we do have to worry about is, the erosion and such. So when it is huge potholes and everything, who is responsible for taking care of that? And if it is the homeowners on the street, how much money? Do they have almost like their own little HOA or something for road maintenance? So those are the things that if you do have something on a private road, ask these questions when you're taking a listing appointment. Ask these questions to your seller.
So some great red flag tips that you can be on the lookout for. And we'll have more to come, but we don't want to overwhelm you, but we'll get into it on a future show and give you some more as we get them in and see them. So don't forget our Lunch and Learn coming up next month, August the 10th, 11:30. Look for more information coming out, but please save the date, 11:30, August 10th. It's Tuesday. We always
We're
are
going to
looking
try
to
and
help
be in
you.
person.
Yep, and don't forget, check out, we still have some money to help the community with our charity of choice, West Pasco Business Association. Go to wpba.biz. We have money for rent and utilities. Go under the HEART program if you're a Pasco County resident struggling from COVID, still trying to get back on your feet. We want to help you get back on your feet. So that's our show. Great information.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We are Today and Every Day.
Moving forward, don't forget to share, like, and just tell your friends about this show. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye-bye.